Friday morning. First thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we thank our sponsors. They are the people that make it, they're the ones responsible for the coffee, the donuts, the chair you're sitting in, getting the panel involved and everything. So let's see, I think Mike from La Pata couldn't be here. Is there anybody else from La Pata Flegal here today? No, no worries. Dave from Parkside, I saw you. Here's Dave right here in the front. Lauren or anyone else from Atomic here today? I don't think they could make, oh, here we go, back here. Thank you for being here. Atomic Revenue. We got Jason from SWIP Systems over here running the technology. Thank you, Jason. Tom Gaddy from Black Twig in the back by the coffee table helping out. Thank you, Tom. Jamie from CMA Global here up in the front. Thank you, Jamie. Paul from Pulcinelli. Anybody from Pulcinelli here? There's Paul in the back. Raise your hand up real high, Paul. Thank you, Paul. And Matt from the Scarin Agency. I know I saw you. There's Matt over here on the side. Thank you. So big round of applause for the sponsors, please. Thanks to them, we are all here today. And they do have a table in the back of all the information. Feel free to pick up. There's some good blogs, some good information. There's also some information about the MML, their firms, everything out there. So please feel free to pick anything up. Okay, we got a great panel today, as you can see. What a great looking panel we've got up here. And Jason Archer is going to lead the panel, and I'm going to let Jason do the bulk of his intro. But Jason Archer is the Vice President of Business Development for the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. Jason has extensive experience in 3 key areas: 13 years in economic development, 10 years in state legislation, and 15 years in manufacturing. If you could all please help me welcome Jason Archer.
Thank you. Good morning. So I've actually spoken here before. I believe it was like 7 years ago or something, pre-pandemic. So, and I thought, there'd be like 9 people here today. So, wow, I'm shocked. Sweating. Looks like I've already run a shift on the line. So, hey, I'm excited to be here today. I told Tom, don't worry, I'll be real high energy for us, and I'm excited with my colleagues. We've been doing this business retention expansion group. We've reimagined it since the global pandemic, and so I'm really excited to bring this to you today. But like Tom said, I've been involved in economic development since 2020 and worked in the state legislature, worked for a few governors. And before that, actually, I do have manufacturing experience. Out of high school, I started working in the auto plants. So they paid for my college and graduate school and all that stuff. So I got a little bit of manufacturing experience. But what I'd like to do before I give the presentation is allow the panelists here, my colleagues, to introduce themselves and kind of give their background in economic development and business assistance.
I have none. Daryl Scott, Vice President of Business Finance. I oversee the lending arm of the partnership. Prior to coming to the partnership, I had over 20 plus years in commercial banking.
Hi, I'm Michelle Stuckey. I'm also the Vice President of Business Development at the Economic Development Partnership with Jason. We co-lead the business development team. So I've been at the Economic Development Partnership for 10 years, since its inception. Prior to that, I was with the St. Louis Development Corporation for 10 years. And there I oversaw their business lending programs. And then before that, I was with the Missouri Department of Economic Development. So I've had a lot of economic development experience. It's the only thing I know.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name's Steve Davis. I'm with the St. Louis Development Corporation. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Initiatives. Prior to that, I was with the Department of Economic Development as a project manager in the St. Louis region, and before that, I built golf clubs, so I think that counts as manufacturing.
Hi, everyone. My name is Becca Segrist. I'm with the Missouri Department of Economic Development. I'm a project manager in our St. Louis region, and so I have the opportunity to be here working at the state level, but here in St. Louis, working with companies like you here. So, yeah.
Hello, every morning. My name is Lincoln Stoll with Ameren, Missouri, Business Development Executive. Been with Ameren for about 5 years. Been in the economic development arena for about 10 months. Prior to that, I was doing community relations, government affairs for Ameren as well, putting out a lot of fires. So prefer this side of the business. So look forward to speaking with you all this morning.
Thank you. So I've got a little slide presentation of what our Business Retention Expansion Committee is. But what happened, I want to give you a little story before I start. When we all shut down for a bit, 3.5 years ago or so, our CEO, the CEO of the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, Rodney Krim, asked the leadership group of our organization to rethink how we do expansion and retention. So we did a lot of research on this. There's studies from International Economic Development Council, IEDC. There's some stuff on how communities set these committees up and do work to help businesses stay, grow, and expand. And so we worked all this together for a number of months, pulled colleagues together. There's others that join us sometimes, and there's some people in the crowd that we're going to do a little question about. And so how does this look for you if you decided you were like, hey, I'd like to have us, you'd like to meet us and talk to us about what we do? What does that look like and feel like? So this is kind of what I'm going to walk through today. So we would meet. We would set up an appointment and say, hey, I want to meet with your BRE committee. So we get something scheduled. We can do it. You're going to see a picture. We can do them via Zoom. We can do them in person. We've done both. I got a couple pictures of that. You know, Zoom, you don't have to get us parking and water or chairs. So there's that convenience of that. So what we do is we do a little slide show, introduce our partners, do the same thing what we did here. We'll say, hey, thanks for joining us this morning, and this is who we're meeting. And then you would take a minute and introduce yourself. So we establish that. What I'm going to wind up doing is pretending that I'm a business and I've got some questions like how this would work, so you kind of would know what to think about. But these are the partners that we've worked together throughout this years and getting this set up. Our objectives, our overall objectives, we've really worked hard on how to focus our stuff, whether we engage in regional companies through what I just said, active partner in the regional company leaders and management. So we talk about community workforce issues. Another component of what we did with this BRE group as we were designing it, we brought in community partners, we would set up a monthly meeting. Remember this pandemic, so we would do virtual Zooms, and we would have a guest speaker come in and speak to us or speak to the community about something relevant going on. So we've had speakers from the Federal Reserve, Gateway Greening, the St. Louis Port Authority. So they'll come in and talk to us and give us a community presentation once a month. We want to talk, our goal is to identify new investment opportunities, and then you know, the bottom, equity inclusion throughout, and I've got a map here coming up to show you, like we really try to spread out where we are, who we reach out to, small business, large business, women, minority-owned businesses. I mean, we really are specific when we do this. So we identified tranches. So this is really, now you're seeing a little bit of background, but we've identified specific areas that we want to make sure that we identify and visit. Advanced manufacturing. We didn't change this for this, so you guys, you know, you are number one on the top of the list. So I'm telling you, that's almost true. Anyway, I'm kidding. Transportation logistics, we try to meet with those companies a lot. Ag tech and agribusiness, St. Louis is a regional hub for this agri-technology, so we really reach out to them a lot. Foreign-owned companies, and this is what we consider this one, connectors, banks, brokers, developers, real estate. We like to do this presentation too to what we call connectors. It's a network meeting. So if we finish here today and you are a firm that consults or assists companies, it doesn't have to be manufacturers, but you hear us and you say, I'd like to bring this panel to a company that I'm consulting with. I want to be clear about this. We are not going to get in front of you and your client. You will come and do the introduction. You'll be the person that brings us together. You brought us to the table. We don't get anywhere by going around you. So I want to be really clear about that, because we do like to do this presentation to like real estate firms. We've done it to banking groups, because they'll say, oh, I have a client that's looking at expanding, so would you go meet them? We're like, sure, bring us on. And we like to do this. This is what it can look like via Zoom. Anyway, it just shows you that it gets us all on the screen together. We say you don't have to do parking, you don't have to do water, but you meet us all and we spend a little time talking. We've done in-person site visits. This was Boeing, Pfizer. We toured the facility out in Chesterfield. And the one on the left is Sunin, if anybody's familiar with that company. So we visited with Sunin and went through their manufacturing facilities and had a conversation with them. This is our data. So when we do this, we record and we put down who we've talked to, where we've been, we map it out. So our organization, just to be clear, we cover St. Louis City and St. Louis County. Our partners on here cover other places. The Missouri Department of Economic Development obviously covers all of Missouri. Our Ameren, our utility partners, cover their footprint. But for the most part, we've organized this through the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership and SLDC in the city and together. And so we do the city and the county. That's really our area of focus. When I get done, this is sort of a landing page on the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership page. We have a BRE tab, and what that BRE tab does, if you're interested in having a meeting with us, then you can fill that out, or there's probably contact information for any one of us. We do say this when we finish our BREs. If you just remember one of us and you reach back out, there's no wrong way to contact us. So we will do a BRE if you know Lincoln Stoll and you email him. I know him and he'll connect us all and we can schedule a BRE. So now that that's over, that's kind of how we start. And then when we do our presentation, we kind of finish that and then we say, tell us about your business. What are you working on? What are you going through? What's keeping you up right now? And so I kind of worked up a little thing like we would hear, instead of like opening up for questions, as I was like, well, I got a pretend manufacturer. Someone said I should make up the whole story about when we were founded and all that, but I don't know if I want to do all that. In 1822, my great-grandfather came over and started this company. And I gave this question to them. So you talk about your business, or the client you introduce us to, and they say, well, okay, here's what I'm wrestling with. Here's what I'm thinking about. I need to expand, or I need a new location. I want about 50,000 square feet. I know I need additional dock doors, maybe a drive-through, maybe not. Maybe a rail connection. I don't know, but I don't really know what's out there, but that's what I'm thinking, right? And then I'm like, we would say, you want to buy, you want to lease? I'm like, well, maybe buy. I don't know. I don't want a bad lease, or I don't want a short-term rent. And we say, well, what about you get this new place, why are you doing it? Why would you want a new place? And you'd say, well, I'm going to expand my capacity. I need to buy some equipment. If I find a place with the dock doors and the rail, and it's where I like, and I buy the building, I want to add some machinery. I'm like, okay. Well, what about staffing, employees? How's that look? And you're like, well, right? We've done this. You've got to get your business figured. And so it's like, well, maybe 10 to 15 new employees in 4 years if I get my machinery going and I get it set up and I get some efficiencies and, things fall the right way. That's helping this committee. All this committee starting to think about stuff. Well, you set this machinery, what's the power load on it? You're like, well, I don't know exactly. And see, I said that, and I don't even know what that really means, but it's like, I need power, and I can't have it go down, and I'm a little worried about the rates, and so is there anything there? And then finally, I'm going to ask, you can introduce yourself when you do, but it's also like I said, if it all falls together and you all get the thing, but maybe you've gone to a trade show or you've met someone, you're like, I think I have the opportunity to export this. Or I know of a foreign market that I really think we could get into, but I don't know how to start that. So I'm going to turn to my panel, and I'm going to kind of let you pass around the mics because you know. So you spent this time with us, and that's what you said, and we're like, you got us all on a Zoom. What's this look like now?
Hi. So to start off, as Jason mentioned, that initially, right, you're looking for a 50,000 square foot building with very specific information. So we have the ability at the Economic Development Partnership to do a site search for you. And that site search, we can cover St. Louis City and County. Within that, right, that's where we're going to ask you those parameters. How many dock doors do you want? The rail access. We also work with our partners in the rail industry to get more specific information for you. Based upon kind of where you want to locate, buy or lease, we kind of narrow it down and we can produce a list of properties, right? And then give you that list of properties. Now, we're not going to act as your broker, but it at least would provide a beginning, a starting point for your business before maybe you take that next step before, and coming from us, right, then it maybe is a little more anonymous in who's looking and so forth. So we can get that kind of ball rolling for you and get you that information.
Thanks, Michelle. I think you did a pretty good job covering it. Just maybe a few things to add. You know, when you work with us, you know, view us as your free consultants. You know, we want to do the best we can to get you the information you need. And from a city perspective, when you're looking for sites, you know, we do have the relationships with those brokers, but we may also know about things that the brokers may not. SLDC oversees the city land bank, so we have over 11,000 properties in the city that may not show up on a broker site search. So there's other things we can do to get creative to help you find what you need. So if you do start the site selection process, I would definitely encourage you not just to go with a broker, but to reach out to us as well so we can get you some of that information that they might not be aware of.
I think it goes.
The questions I would be asking, first of all, is, okay, are you going to be occupying that entire building? Because you might not need that entire building. You might decide that, hey, I'm going to rent out part of this building and get some additional source of revenue. Then I would be thinking about, okay, hey, how long you've been in business. If you've been in business less than 2 years, where you can talk about the SB 504, where you had to occupy at least 60% of that property. If you've been in business for longer than that, you'd have to occupy at least 51% of that. The beauty of our the SBA 504 program is that we can piggyback off of, say, like Parkside is doing a loan to you, and because our loan is subordinated to Parkside. So, for example, if Parkside is lending 75% on that property, we can come in, because there's untapped equity that's still there, and we can lend on that untapped equity. Now, in terms of equipment, if you're looking at equipment, we can also utilize the 504 for major equipment as well, and that can go out for the useful life of that equipment. The beauty of the program of the 504 is that for the building, we can go out to 25 years, and the rate is locked in for that term. We also offer a small revolving loan program for the city and the county, which basically means that, okay, hey, I might need some additional funds for working capital, and we still can piggyback off that equipment, off your other loan, and advance money for that purpose as well.
Yeah, and then for the job portion, we have a program called Missouri Works. Some or many of you may be familiar with it, but it's our tool at the state level to incentivize job creation in Missouri. So it will take any new jobs that you're creating and give let you retain the withholdings on those jobs. So kind of our base level program, you don't have to be in any special zone or anything, is a minimum of 10 new jobs. And so for a project like this, if you're creating that, we can get you plugged in. It's statutory. You can get into it and be retaining the state withholdings that you would be paying on those jobs and get to retain those. And so that's a great tool that a lot of manufacturing companies take advantage of, and companies just in general. And then another piece to it would be Missouri One Start is our kind of workforce side of things, and so they have funds that are really flexible to help with training and upskilling and even recruitment. There are some services there, and so that can go through a couple different channels, but that would be another thing that we would be happy to plug in with as you're creating new jobs and looking to train there as well.
Yeah, and I think from Ameren perspective, when that site or building is identified and you guys are looking to expand, it's super important to get us involved as soon as possible, getting our engineers on the call. Depending on the size of the expansion, there could be significant infrastructure upgrades needed, and we've seen many supply chain issues that lead times are for a transformer are months to years in advance. So getting us involved right away is super critical to meeting your deadlines. And then also for a lot of our expansion projects and business attraction projects, Ameren has a lot of different incentives and programs we can offer you guys. I think the main one that I like to focus on the economic development side is what we call EDI. That's our economic development incentive. It is for qualifying businesses that are looking to expand or actually move their company to Ameren, Missouri's service territory. And what it kind of looks like is if you add 300 on-peak kilowatt hours, that's an average over 12 months with a load factor of 45%, you could be looking at up to 35% discount off your base rates for 5 years. There's some other eligibility criteria, and that's where working with Becca's team, there's a matching incentive with your local partners or your state partners, and then it's just prior to any public announcement. So we've seen a lot of success with that program, and it's been super helpful, helping some companies either move to our service territory, expand, or simply retain. And then we mentioned large equipment. We can get you guys plugged in with our energy efficiency team to kind of do a run through of the facility and see what might be qualified for any energy efficiency opportunities. And there's some other programs that I may hit on later, but I will stop jabbering right now.
And then the bonus question on here was about foreign markets and exporting, and I don't know who could, oh my goodness gracious, Tim Nowak, the executive director of the World Trade Center, is right here in the front row.
Wouldn't you know it?
Wouldn't you know it? Can you talk a little bit about this specific issue? Then we'll back up and talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just very quickly. I also have my partner in crime, Sean Mullins, who is from the World Trade Center. So we are the international office for the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. I see some friendly faces, some people that I know here in the crowd who have been with us on trade missions in the past as well. We really look at it in terms of international growth. We see, when you look at BRE, business retention and expansion, we see expansion through the lens of international. There are more than 2,800 exporters in the St. Louis region. The vast majority are small to medium-sized enterprises. They employ more than 95,000 export-dependent jobs. So this is very much about business growth. We want to help you or your clients find new markets for their goods and their services because we see that as business growth here locally. So there's tremendous amount of resources available for these companies. A lot of times these go unused or are not capped out every year. The state of Missouri has funds available for trade shows, participation in trade shows, funds available for translating your website into different languages. Through our office and the Department of Commerce, there's tremendous resources in market through embassies to help with distributor searches, finding new markets, finding new partners in those countries. We can even help to identify what countries you may want to start with. I mean, a lot of times, obviously, Canada and Mexico are a logical starting point for companies, but there's an opportunity to investigate other markets where you or your company or your client might have success. So much so that as we've gone through this BRE work, it's really been enlightening for Sean and me to sit in. I've learned so much from our colleagues. But what we found is there's been a number of these meetings that have led to follow-up meetings where, as we're exploring and we're learning more about these companies in this hour-long Zoom that Jason talked about, we've had follow-up Zoom meetings with these companies very specifically focused on their international interests. And we've now created a sub-BRE committee just for international. And so our team, our office at the World Trade Center now has led the creation of international BRE with the state and with the federal partners that we have. And so we'll spend another, hour with a company talking about what their international interests are. And we're not, as Jason said, we're not selling you on anything other than St. Louis. There's nothing that we're selling here other than we want to see you grow and succeed and add jobs and economic activity right here in our own backyard. We're just looking at it through that lens of international. And so there's a lot of great opportunity out there. We just got back actually from London, and we took a trade delegation of 44 to London to go see the Cards and the Cubs series, but also spend a few days connecting with businesses there. It was just amazing. We did a whole ag tech symposium and met with companies that have an interest towards North America and the market here, and why wouldn't you want to place your business in the global leadership position that St. Louis has in ag tech. So there's just tremendous amount of opportunity throughout the globe, and our office is here to help support that piece.
Thank you, Tim. So that's kind of what would happen if with a very specific BRE visit with you or a client or something like that. And what I'm going to do next is kind of go down the panel and ask the panelists to talk a little bit more about, a little broadly, what their organizations do in other areas, if there's things going on, whether it's AMIC or 39 North we want to talk about, or other financing options or other things the state and so I kind of but I wanted to start off, we discussed this, as Tim said, we meet frequently. We've met every Friday afternoon since the global pandemic. This group, we get on. If someone's off on a Friday, you miss, but we have a standing meeting every week just to talk about companies we need to visit, we want to visit, get things scheduled. So we've been doing this a while, and we click pretty quick. I'm looking at the clock because it's like we are very respectful about time as well. So that's why we wanted to do a specific example of what a company might be thinking about. So I'm going to have them all go through and talk a little bit about their programs, their agencies, and then we'll open it up for questions. So I think we should have plenty of time. If you start thinking about some questions you might want to, stump the panelist with, some problem that you're ready to throw out there to us. So I'm just going to do the microphone again, and you guys kind of work through other things that we may have missed with this, or how you do the full presentation to the companies.
Sure. My department, as I indicated, we're the lending arm of the partnership. We handle the SBA 504 for the city and the county. The beauty people don't realize is that we can go anywhere in Missouri. It can be Kansas City, Columbia, Jeff City, anywhere in Missouri. Also, we can go over to 9 counties across the river into Illinois. And like I said before, the beauty of the program is in the fact is we can lock in a rate for up to 25 years. and we can subordinate our debt to an existing loan. We can also do refi. You can have an existing real estate loan that we can work with in terms of getting a refi. We also handle a small business loan program for the city and the county, where a business owner can borrow anywhere from $30,000 to $150,000. There's one caveat to that is the owner has to have been turned down by an existing bank or credit union, and the reason for that is our rates are typically lower than a bank or credit union. And if you can get funds from somewhere else, that prevents someone who actually needs the funds from having access to those resources. The other thing that we handle is industrial revenue bonds, and that's for the county. My counterpart here handles the city. We work with the Industrial Development Authority in terms of the issuance of these bonds. They can be for manufacturing, they can be 501(c)(3), they can be low-income housing, they can be special tax districts. We did a groundbreaking in April for Wellington Family Homes, which is 186 units going online in Wellston, which will greatly help to revitalize that area. In the past, we've done bond issuance for the Magic House, the Friendship Village. Those are other examples of bond issuance that we have done in the past.
Hi, and then to talk a little bit more about the Economic Development Partnership and probably some other ways the Business Development Group can assist. And I guess to maybe backtrack a little bit, that all of these things, all of these programs that we're all talking about, it's very important that you bring us in early, because if you've already started the hiring, if you've already started the spending, you've kind of went a little too far. It makes it more difficult for us to fit you in with the requirements of these programs, because oftentimes they have requirements that are set by rules, by certain standards that are there. And the earlier you bring us in, the more we can help. Other ways where we can provide assistance, we work really closely with our workforce partners. So St. Louis County Workforce as the county workforce agency, and Slate as the cities. As Daryl mentioned, the IDA for the city, I staff that for the city. So same type of offerings through the county are available through the city's IDA board. We also, within our office, within the business development team, we often provide demographic information that maybe businesses need within, a half a mile or 1 mile or 2 miles, kind of looking out to see what sort of buying power, what a neighborhood looks like. We have that ability to kind of provide that information to you as well.
So again, I'm with the St. Louis Development Corporation. We're a 501c4 tasked with stimulating the market for business and real estate development in the city of St. Louis. So Daryl and Michelle already mentioned some of the boards that they work with. SLDC actually oversees 12 development boards. I won't go over all of them because, to be honest, I haven't memorized them all. But there's a lot of different programs that we can do to help your business grow. I want to talk about a few specific projects we recently have accomplished. We recently issued a $180 million bond for Procter & Gamble to grow on the North Riverfront. It was a great project for us, and they were a great partner in the community. Obviously, we're helping them with workforce needs and other things as well. So it was a great project and a great partnership. The other thing I'd like to bring up is the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Center that we'll be breaking ground on in September in North City, St. Louis. So this is going to be roughly an $80 million facility, state-of-the-art, in partnership with Boeing. So it's the kind of place where companies can come and prototype new products. So whether it's the next generation aircraft and they need to test like new composites for the airframe, things like that, this is where companies will want to be to do that. And then just a 15-minute walk away, SLDC, we acquired a Killark Electric building. It's a 170,000 square foot building on 15 acres, and it's our intention to stand up a program called Build STL. So this will be a workforce development center with a heavy emphasis on advanced manufacturing. So we are in the early stages of actually figuring out what that looks like, but we want that facility to be kind of the hub for these different sectors that advanced manufacturing serves. and provides access to the community so they can get the training they need to get into these good jobs. And also demystify what advanced manufacturing is, because advanced manufacturing covers so many different things. So yeah, exciting things happening, and we'd love for you guys to be a part of it.
Yeah, and then from the Department of Economic Development perspective, we have a broad range of programs, right? There's a lot under the umbrella of DED, and so as with everything, right? Like, come talk to us, tell us what your needs are, and we'll see how we can plug you into one of those programs or just connect with other partners. A couple other things kind of on top of what I talked about on the other piece. We have a statutory sales tax exemption on machinery and equipment used in manufacturing. So that is available to all of you. If it's machinery and equipment used in manufacturing, you can kind of submit a form, and that will be tax exempt from that state sales tax at 4.225%. So that's a great resource. And then we also have kind of on the Missouri One Start, the workforce piece. A piece of that is recruitment, and our team will build out a microsite, a landing site for you. So it'll look exactly like your company's, and it'll be working on recruitment specifically. And it's a really great resource. It's a free resource that they would be happy to plug you in with as you're looking for jobs and looking to hire, because we know that that's such a challenge. We also have an international trade and investment office that the World Trade Center works really closely with, and they'll connect you in all of those pieces. But yeah, of course, always come to us and ask, and we're happy to connect you in with whatever is applicable.
And I think the last thing I'll touch on, when we meet with a lot of these businesses, a lot of companies are looking to be, more green, clean. A lot of them have ESG goals, and a program Ameren offers right now is called a renewable program. It's a subscriber program where you're not, physically building, solar panels on your campus, but we're actually building it elsewhere, but you're subscribed to it. So we've had companies, looking to be 100% renewable. So the more people we get on board to subscribe, the more we're able to advocate to the PSC that we need to build these solar farms. So, this program offers, you can go 50%, you can go 100%. It's all based off of customer demand. And then we build that into our transmission grid. I'm sure you've driven on 70 and seen large solar fields out there. So that's all part of our subscriber renewable program. I think a lot what we're hearing is we want to be renewable but reliable, and I think this is a good program that Ameren offers without you actually having to physically put it onto your campus. And then I'll briefly touch on one other thing. We're seeing more electric vehicles on the road each and every day. Ameren offers incentives for businesses for charging stations, and it's about 50% up to the total project cost. And I know Ken Cressman's in the room here somewhere. There he is in the middle. If you want to pick his brain a little more on electrification, feel free to do so after this. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you. And Tim, would you talk a little bit about Mosaic?
Sure. If you haven't heard, Mosaic Project, it's an initiative that we launched. Actually, 10-year anniversary is this year, and that is an effort to attract and retain more foreign-born talent to St. Louis. We did the first ever economic impact of immigration study 10 years ago, led by an economist out of St. Louis University, and it told us that St. Louis is far behind in terms of attracting and retaining foreign-born, not just compared to a Chicago or a New York, these gateway cities, but also compared to some of our peer cities, Nashville and Louisville. And so it is an economic imperative. It is all about growth, population growth, and workforce included in that. So this initiative works very closely with many partners around the region to promote St. Louis as a welcoming, supportive location for individuals, foreign-born talent from all around the United States and globally to come and move here. And so what we found also is that it's an important key piece to many of these BRE conversations, because if we're meeting with a business, they're talking to us about workforce challenges in manufacturing or elsewhere, we can immediately bring in some of our workforce partners, including Mosaic, to help broaden the reach for your business to attract applicants, to attract talent at all skill levels. And so it's been a great resource. There's a landing page on our website, the Mosaic website, that lists job opportunities. These are available to your clients as well. If you're an ambassador company on Mosaic, there's no charge. If you're not, it's like $100 to get any of your openings listed. And this reaches a wide range of ethnic chambers and other communities here that you may be missing just through traditional marketing of opening positions. So keep that in mind, the Mosaic Project.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks, guys. I hope you're overwhelmed. I hope you're like, oh my gosh, and I can have these folks come and visit my business or a client of mine and talk about all this and be very focused and specific. Yes, you can. Doesn't have to just be manufacturing. I know Steve talked about P&G. Michelle led probably one of the largest projects out here in Town and Country, the Accenture Federal Services project. So she worked on that. I worked on the Gateway Studios project out in Chesterfield, those buildings that look like NASA buildings. And we all work them together. Like, we all work these projects together. So we go under what's implied NDA. We will not do anything until you tell us to get ready to do something. I think the panel said probably one of the best things is you have to bring us in first. Many of these programs are statutory or ordinance specific. So, for example, I'm going to give you a specific example. Becca talked about the sales tax exemption for manufacturing equipment. Any equipment you purchase in the process of manufacturing for a 3.3 NAICS code company, state sales tax is exempt automatically, if you do it before. If you buy it and pay the sales tax, you're not getting it back. The state ain't giving that money back. So, talk to us about it before. It's okay. So, that's a very good specific example. I think anything else? Did we miss anything? Anything else we want to throw out? See, I knew Daryl. Let's probably put Daryl first.
You know, also might want to say that we do work with startups. We have the resources to help a startup get up and running.
Yes, we do. Under Michelle's group, my group, together, a group, we have a SBDC, we have a counselor, a business counselor too that helps. So we do that as well. So we'll assist that. So do we have questions? Anybody have any questions? Anyone that's old like me, I made myself look like Phil Donahue, so I can run out here and do the Phil Donahue thing. Okay, yeah. Youngsters will be like,
So the question I have is for the BRE committee. I hear everything happening out in the county. You have a problem in the city with businesses leaving. We have a problem nationally with our reputation. Last week, Forbes named us as the #1 most dangerous city in the country. How do you sell the city of St. Louis, not the county, but the city of St. Louis, to a business, whether it's foreign or it's U.S., looking to expand?
okay, I'm going to slow walk up here because someone was just in D.C. Imagine that. They got some stuff going on. And let me just let them talk a little bit about the stuff they have happening.
So I think I heard all of your questions, so let me know if I miss anything. To your point, you are correct. St. Louis is at an inflection point, and we're grappling with issues, right? A lot of that is public safety. A lot of it is making sure businesses are content being in the city and feel like they want to be there. We're aware of this, and so SLDC in September 2022, we launched what was called the Economic Justice Action Plan. Half of our city on the northern side has not had the opportunity to participate in economic development or had access to tools and resources to help them develop wealth. And this is the reason why we have a lot of these issues today. So I mentioned the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Center and the Killark Electric building where we're standing up Build STL. Both of those buildings are in North City, Killark being right at MLK and Vandeventer. We're intentionally putting this building there so it can be in the community and a part of the community. We'll be moving Slate to that building, the St. Louis Agency for Training and Employment. So residents have easier access to these training opportunities instead of finding their way through city government downtown and, Slate's on the 3rd floor and you can't find parking and it's just difficult to get to. So we're just trying to provide more access and really making sure that the next generation has these opportunities so we can start to turn the ship in the right direction. Does that cover most of your question, or?
It does, but if you talk to the community that's in that area that you're talking about.
Right, yep.
Yeah, they know nothing of what you're doing there.
So.
They're still saying gentrification. So how do you get the word to them? How do you let them know that things are better?
Right. And so one thing I failed to mention, so we did open what's called the Northside Economic Empowerment Center, which is actually located in Sumner High School. So that's a place where people can go and we'll work with them if they want to start a business. We'll provide the technical assistance to get them started, those wraparound services and those backroom things that they may not have a handle on. We're working with MWBE contractors to help them do more competitive estimates and making sure their payrolls are getting taken care of so they can focus more on their business and growing it. So we're getting out in the community. We have neighborhood managers who are out talking to the community every day to let them know what we're doing. We just launched a marketing campaign to make sure people know about the resources that will be available with this federal funding and local Fiscal Recovery Act funding coming through. So there are things happening. It is going to be a challenge, but we're working on it.
Thanks. Other questions? Oh, all right. Look, I get to do Phil Donahue. And then he would get down, you kids don't know, and he'd be like, what's your question? What is it? Hi, what is your question for me?
Good morning, Rachel Palmisano. I'm with Commerce Bank. So I work with businesses and commercial companies, and whenever I refer them somewhere, the first question that they're thinking is, what's this going to cost me? What's the fee? What do they charge? So I can understand on like the 504 how you make revenue and how that produces income for the partnership, but can you talk a little bit about how the partnership does have, how they earn revenue and fund the programs, and if there is at any of the points that we've discussed today a cost to a participant?
Oh, that's a real good question. Let me run back up here to the panel. I know, I got my watch. Do you want they know Daryl, right?
Okay. So as far as how charges go to businesses, right? So site searches, free service, providing demographic information, all of that. The majority of, yes, our programs are free, that we, in providing access, that we often connect companies to our colleagues in county government, right, at the assessors, at different places. Economic development covers such a breadth of areas where we can work with you and be your contact, your conduit into government. There are fees, right, whenever you issue bonds, things along those lines. There are fees, yes, attached with those that help to fund our time and a lot of our resources, legal and other, that are going towards getting that done. But probably the majority of what we do are free services to businesses.
Same thing at SMDC?
Do you want to?
Free. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Wait a minute, what about my trade research?
Well, we all want you to be a member of the World Trade Center of St. Louis, so there is that, but most of these services, aside from Department of Commerce does have a small fee for connecting through their Gold Key service, but the vast majority are free, and not only that, there's funds available that can be used by your companies from our state partners to help open up these markets. So not only is it free, they've got money that they want to invest in your business.
Yeah, many of us receive our funding from whether it's city government, county government, state government, and we're judged by having these meetings, making these introductions. That's why there's the data with the maps and the jobs. Like, that's how we are scored in the public. Yes, I'm not saying there's some little things, but for the most part, that's where the lion's share, our bulk is community. And again, bring us in early, and we don't, like, we're not going to send this out to some, so if you are looking for a site, and Michelle said we did a site search, and Steve, we're not going to notify a broker. There's no one going to call you and do that like, that's information for you. If you have a broker, like Daryl talked about with banking, they take seconds. We're not getting in front of your banker in your finance. We don't do that. That's not our role. So, other questions? I saw, was there two back here? Yeah, yes, sir.
Hi, Aaron Berger with IPM. We are also.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're also interested in seeing advanced manufacturing grow in St. Louis and looking how we could serve and support the cause, particularly around the new centers. So, any people we should be reaching out to? How do we get involved? If you could share a little on that.
So I think that's an AMIC. How do companies learn more about that?
I would say find me after the panel. I'll give you my card and we can just start the conversation. We're actively looking for partners in all of this. Like I said, we're breaking ground in September. And then with the KillArc site and Build STL, you know, we're actively looking to engage with the private sector, you know, just find out what your needs are as far as training and how you guys can be a part of this. So let's definitely connect.
Thanks. Maybe another one more?
Thank you. Just curious what you all are doing for workforce training development. Who are you tying in with? How do you help prepare the employees?
Okay, I think I'll start with Becca on this one, and then I might do a little bit of that one, or you want to do a little bit too? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so for workforce, for those Missouri One Start funds that I was talking about, those can be kind of connected in with through the local educational agencies. So at community college, there's a whole list of them, right? And those funds can be used in whatever way is most helpful for you. They're very flexible in the way that they work. And so if you want to bring, depending on the program, right, but if you want to bring in someone to train your employees, then you can bring them in and that could be funded by those funds. Or you could send them out to be trained on something, or if there's a special piece of equipment that there's training on, right, to send them there. So it's very flexible. Really, the idea is that it will work with the company, with the company's needs to train the workers. So that's kind of the training piece of Missouri One Start. Is it's just really, really flexible, and there's kind of, they'll make a plan with you to see what works for you.
So from the advanced manufacturing perspective, around AMIC, we're working with Southwest Illinois College, Rankin, St. Louis Community College, Rung for Women. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but there's several nonprofits that operate in the city that can provide this sort of training, especially to people who wouldn't normally have access to it. So yeah, typically universities and then nonprofits, you know, we're bringing to the table. And then I'll pass it over here to Jason.
Yeah, and I'll finish that one up. Another one of my roles, I happen to be the chair for the St. Louis County Workforce Investment Board, the WIB board. And so just every county designated area in the United States has this. It's federal funds that drift down to assist people that have barriers to entry to work, to get into work. But there's areas that work specifically with businesses that can do training, recruitment, hiring, that can focus on assistance for that. And so that leads directly great into kind of the wrap up, which is a visit from us is free. Just sign up on our website. If you like that, if you have a workforce specific issue, even when we pre-set it up and you say, hey, I'm really going to talk about training, I got this new equipment, we'll make sure we bring one of our workforce people on to the Zoom call or the visit. Like if we know ahead of time. Talking to us doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't get it out in the community. We don't obviously you just learned about this stuff, right? We don't advertise, we don't tweet, we're not going to talk about your business. But you bring us in early and we can talk about all this stuff while you're planning things and figuring things out. So I want to thank you for the time. My panelists, I want to thank my colleagues because they really bring the knowledge and experience to it. And Tom, thank you for allowing us to present this morning. And I think some of us will be hanging around a little bit if you want to talk to us and ask how you can get signed up or how we can assist. So thank you.
All right, how about another round of applause? That's a ton of great information. And I want to say a special thank you to Daryl for coming up and talking to me at the refreshment table and making the connection and making this whole thing happen. And another unsung hero, Larry Weiss, are you still here? There he is in the back. Larry comes in every morning to help us around 6:30 in the morning and sets up the tables and does check-in at the back table and everything like that. And we've never publicly acknowledged him, so shame on us. But Larry, thank you, and a round of applause for Larry, please. Okay, we're going to get a quick picture for social media. So the standing joke is, if you are a criminal or someone is looking for you, just duck your head so you don't show up and they don't know where you're at. All right, so give me a big smile, please. All right, great, and then one on the panel, please. Sunlight's in the back, so it's not perfect, but we'll make it work. Okay, great. All right, our next event is September 8th. This is a manufacturing-only event, so we don't want to uninvite anybody, but if you're a manufacturer, we're going to have Bob Alvarez from Shapiro talking about change in a 119-year-old company. So this is a little bit different event where we have a smaller crowd, we have a hot breakfast, manufacturers only. Really great opportunity for the manufacturers to learn from other manufacturers. There are feedback forms on your table. We would really appreciate if you would fill those out. That's how we find out the next topics, your rating on the speaking today and everything along those lines. And then 2 last items, please recycle or throw your trash away. And please don't forget to return your name badge into the little brown box at the back. So thank you for being here. We hope you all have a wonderful weekend and we really appreciate you. Talk to you soon.